Hey guys, Chad here for a solo recap of Impact Wrestling's March Breakdown event. Windsor, Ontario, Canada, in conjunction with Border Championship Wrestling. Your commentators are Josh Matthews and Scott D'Amore. So, I didn't used to cover the one night onlys because they were garbage. Flat out, they were unwatchable directs. Basically what they would do is they would just throw a bunch of random ass matches together with no real foresight or common sense to any of them. They weren't special matchups, they weren't unique. They would just be like the same, regurgitated nonsense you'd seen on Impact just without a storyline. And sometimes they would, early on they put some effort into them. They would do like tag team turmoil. What was it called? I think it was tag team turmoil actually, where you would randomly pair people, and this was when Bobby Roode and James Storm had split, so they had paired them back up, and that was a cool gimmick. They did some old school events, which I thought were entertaining, and if they go back to, that formula where you bring back past stars, I think that'd be a very cool thing as well. The all-women show I thought was fine. Some of the talent wasn't always up to par, though, with what you expect from the knockouts. Like, the early 2014s was fine, but then as the years continued into even last year, they became really rough. Last year, they did give us the Global Force Wrestling Amped Anthology, which actually was a nice kind of change of pace, so, credit where credit's due. But now, under the new regime of Scott D'Amore and Don Callis, they really have an idea what they're doing. This was only recorded, I think, like 3 weeks ago, and it served to advance many storylines. But what I think that I really enjoy, and this is what gets me, like this is what gets the blood going. I love seeing new talent. I love seeing talent I haven't seen before, and getting to know them. Because it's when you get into the real nitty-gritty of the indies, that's when you start finding your gems. And there's a few on here, and one or two might actually be former Impact stars. So I can't wait to talk about them. So let's get to this, because this was a show and a half, and I enjoyed this thoroughly. I just watched House of Hardcore 39 or 38, the one where the main event was Tommy Dreamer and Nick Aldis. I watched New Japan's Strong Style Evolved, and I don't want to sit here and say this was the best, because I thought Strong Style Evolved had a lot of great action. But I'm a character guy, and this definitely tickled my enjoyment bone more than the others. There was a lot of great character work in this show, and it wasn't supposed to be like this big thing. It's not Strong Style Evolved. You're not going to get Jay White, Hangman Page, but you're going to get some action. You're going to get some entertaining stories, some interesting promos, and this is what I want more of. I want Impact to have a later on in their run. I'll make the correlation. Don't worry. WCW had a show called WCW Saturday Night. And it used to be their flagship show, and then they got Nitro, and then it became kind of like a developmental show. 6, 8, 9 months before you saw them on Nitro and Thunder, you would see guys like Mark Jindrak and Chris Harris and AJ Styles, Shark Boy, were all popping up on Saturday night before they made their main roster debuts. This is what I think the one night onlys can be. A chance to see new talent or underutilized talent or talent who never got their big break, and you can see them in a new light, and maybe, just maybe, get something different from them. And if they continue going that route, I will continue watching these one night onlys. So let's get into the first match. Idris Abraham versus El Reverso. I did a little research on El Reverso. He took a bit of a break in the business, about 7-8 years, if I remember correctly. He's being billed from the Yukon, up north. Apparently, it's not very visited. Scott D'Amore refuses to even go. And Scott D'Amore, here's the only complaint I have about commentary. They both heel it up pretty often. Scott D'Amore's supposed to, Josh Matthews isn't. And the most evident, I think, was during the Alley mixed tag. They were both kind of giving Alley a hard time, which you wouldn't expect to hear from the face announcer. But, that's neither here nor there, so we're gonna ignore that, because the commentary was hilarious, because these two are finding a groove, and it's if you guys remember, and I don't even know why you would, back in 2006, 2007, when JBL retired and became an announcer, he and Michael Cole started doing a WWE.com podcast, and I would listen to it every day, or like not every day, but every day they released one. I think it was like once a week or once every other week. They did like 10. And I would go to the computer lab around noon because I would have about an hour and a half, 2 hours between classes. And even though I lived 5 minutes from home, I just didn't feel like getting in the car, going over there, coming back. So I would just go to the computer lab, get my headset, put it in, listen. And they had such great chemistry, and they were raw dogging each other. They were giving insiders a hard time. They were making fun of people behind the scenes. I thought it was so cool. You pull back the veil. Now we see so much of the pulling back the veil. It's just no longer, original. However, the chemistry they had in those podcasts reminds me of how D'Amore and Josh Matthews had. Like they're giving each other a hard time, and you can tell they're genuinely enjoying themselves. And that's something you don't, especially on like WWE television, you don't hear them having a good time. Like all the insults feel forced and rehearsed, and just the digs on this show felt very organic, and I love that. Because that's what we do on our shows. Like we give each other a hard time because it's how we show affection. So I really dug that. So D'Amore's given El Reverso a tough time for being from the Yukon, and apparently there's an El Reverso Cyanide and Happiness character. So I don't know if he got it from there, but I thought that was kind of coincidental. Idris Abraham is just somebody I'm not that into. I think it's his look. He's got big hair, and I think that's cool because it's not typical big Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt hair. But his attire just leaves like a lot to be desired, and his physique isn't really that impressive, so it doesn't really lend itself to many opportunities. He's kind of a one-note dude in that regard. But he's a good worker, and he's one of those guys that you can have on your roster because you're going to have a good match with people. And he made El Reverso look like $1 million, and El Reverso had a lot of cool spots. I don't know if Reverso had some performance anxieties, because there was a few moments you're like, it could have been more crisp. He was a little bit loose, maybe a little too loose, or maybe he was too tight. I don't know. It's the same analogy, just in reverse. He seemed flustered at times. But he also seemed really talented, and if he can get past some of these initial butterflies, he could be a real asset. He had a very cool, and I forgot who did it originally, but it was basically a high-angle moonsault, where instead of trying to be fast with it, you try to get the most air with it. And I forgot who did it. It was like 10, 15 years ago. And El Reverso pulled that out, and it wasn't as high as some have gotten, but it was pretty impressive. He landed a little rough on Eaters, but he got the win. Solid opener, good stuff. I was impressed. Madison Rayne showing up, and she's fit. She's got some abs now, and she's looking very, very compact, and she's talking shit about her opponent. I'm going to pronounce it Giselle, but I think it might be Giselle. Giselle? It was Giselle Shaw, who was about 5'9", 5'10", long leggy. And she kind of reminded me of Rosa Mendez with her build, but she wrestled very well. And apparently this is like, I think she's only 3 or 4 or 5 months into her training with Lance Storm. And Scott D'Amore puts over how athletic she is. And then she hits this top rope slingshot spinning splash, and I was impressed. She could have been a little bit tighter on the revolutions, but, all things considered, like, that was an impressive move, and the match got 7-8 minutes. And when you think about the fact that this is basically a rookie working with one of Impact's more prominent women's wrestlers, especially in terms of psychology, they had a really good match. And again, nothing 5 stars, not even 4, maybe not even 3. But it's like one of those, like, it's an appreciation for new talent. You got to see Madison Rayne back with the company, and Josh Matthews was really putting over on commentary. They should really just call her Madison Matthews. And Scott D'Amore just barks out, "They would never book her again." And I just started, I giggled. I thought it was the greatest shit in the world. I don't know why. We then go backstage, and we have, I think it's Sheldon Jean. It's Jean, but I think it's like French Jean, like Jean. I don't know. His name's Sheldon, not Shelton. There's no T. Not Shelton Benjamin. Although they do make the correlation to Shelton Benjamin. But this dude named Stone Rockwell walks in, and oh my God, Chad has a new favorite gimmick. So they come in, and Stonewall Jackson's like, Stone Rockwell, sorry. Stone Rockwell walks in and goes, "I'm Stone Rockwell. Are you, I'm Stone Rockwell. Are you ready for, no. I can't remember what it was. I think it's like, can you say adventure? I think that's what it was. And every time he would say adventure, the camera would zoom in on his face, and he would have the corniest smile, and he had this Indiana Jones hat, and this Indiana Jones vest, and this he had an Indiana Jones whip, and it looked so fake. And he's like, Sheldon, where's your hat? Where's your vest? Where's your whip? And Sheldon's like, I don't have any of that. And he's like, dude, you need a catchphrase. And he starts going through his catchphrase, and Sheldon's like, I don't have a catchphrase. I'm just, dude, like, and Sheldon actually did a good job putting himself over. He's like, dude, I was a young boy for 3 months in Noah. I've already served 2 tours in Japan. I'm good. I don't need a fucking catchphrase. And I was like, that's a great way to put these guys over as differing characters heading to a match. They told a better story in 45 seconds than Sasha Banks and Bayley have in 5 fucking months. Yeah. They're going up against the Desi Hit Squad. They're finally getting some airtime after a very big hype around them initially when they signed what was his name? Singh? He was an Indian and Canadian wrestling legend. To be honest, I knew very little about him at the time and still know very little about him. I think there's 4 men in this group, and tonight we got to see Rohit Raju, who obviously was... is it Rohit? Raju? I think so. Who they did put over at what used to be known as Hakeem Zayn, and Gursinder Singh. And Gursinder did most of the promo work, and I thought he was really good. The problem with the Desi Hit Squad, instead of turning them into something unique, they kind of feel just like what WWE's been doing with Jinder Mahal and the Bollywood Boys. Oh, you don't like us because of what we wear. Like, I think Jinder said that verbatim. You don't like us because, we're different. But yet but the thing that I thought really set them out in this promo was they're like, you've been demanding something different, and then we gave it to you, and you're like, nah, we're good. So it was a little bit of a different motif than you just don't like us because we're foreign. No, this was more, we gave you what you want, and you still resent us. And that was, it's a subtle difference, but it was a decent enough difference. Match was fantastic. Not again. I would say, the 2 best matches we'll get to, but none of these matches I think were anything close to a 3-star. But that's fine because you're not supposed to be getting that kind of work rate at this kind of show. This was a family-friendly, all-inclusive, hop in and enjoy kind of show, and I dig that. Desi Hit Squad looked fantastic. So did Sheldon Jean, and Stone Rockwell was There's a bit where he jumped off I shouldn't say jumped. He ran off the back, I think, of Raju, or he jumped off the back of one of them to try to make a tag for Jean, but he stumbled and fell. And I don't know if that was what was supposed to happen. But the funny part was he fell and he just all over exaggerated, and then he finally tags in Sheldon, and I was just like, I don't know if that was supposed to be a comedy bit or not, but I laughed. The Desi Hit Squad win legally, which is always a refreshing kind of thing to see. There was some miscommunication, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to remember the match at the top of my head. I should have taken notes. My bad. I think Singh hit like a standing sidekick, and they hit like a finisher to get the win. Whether it was clean or not is really irrelevant at this point because it was an impressive win, and it was a very fun match. It was a fun little match, 7.5 minutes, not even, maybe 8. And I'm just thinking to myself, I've had more fun watching this event than I had watching Raw and SmackDown over the course of the last 4 months. So, sometimes short matches are better matches. Just throwing that one out there, folks. We then get Casey Spinelli and Braxton Sutter. Braxton's rocking a new gimmick. He's kind of like a sleazy kind of dude. He's trying to be like he reminds me of Will Ferrell and I can't remember his name. Steve. Oh God, that's not right. You know what? We're looking it up because I will not fuck this up. I am gonna see the name and it's gonna piss me off because it's Chris Kattan. There we go. He reminds me of like Will Ferrell, Chris Kattan, constantly hitting everyone at Night at the Roxbury, but getting nowhere. So that was great. Casey Spinelli is really starting to come into her own as a promo. She's getting more comfortable behind the camera in front of this audience. put her over as 2 Scoops, and Braxton, she's like, Allie, you're going to find out what 2 Scoops is all about. She walks off, and Braxton's like, I'm going to find out what 2 Scoops is after the match, right? I was like, God, this dude is some sleaze. I love it. Allie's tagging up with A1. A1 used to be a member of Team Canada about 12 years ago, back in 2005, 2006. He's 40 now, and he looks better. I don't know. I don't know how that's even possible. His work rate has improved a bit, and he's working a much more power style, and it's working in this version of Impact. While 10, 12 years ago, he didn't get over because he was seen as a WWE-style wrestler. He's super fit, and I would love to see him back with Petey Williams, reform Team Canada, win some tag team gold, and be down with that. Allie comes out, still no belt. I think that's interesting. Maybe she doesn't bring it with her. I don't know. Maybe she's already gotten rid of it because they're debuting new belts at Redemption, which, I think should be called Resurrection, but that's just me. So A1 and Allie take on Sutter and Spinelli, and it's a simple match. It's a mixed tag match. So that means women on women, men on men. But Spinelli does rake A1's back, and Sutter, I think, slaps Allie or gets in Allie's face. So there was some, going on, but nothing much. I actually don't remember the finish of this match at all. I want to say A1 pinned Sutter, but I think I'm drastically wrong. I think Allie pinned Spinelli, I think. And these two are starting to get better chemistry because they always seem to wrestle each other on these special events. So that was kind of a cool thing. The promo work beforehand and the story during the match, I think, was a much better outing than the match itself. And Sutter had this great pre-match promo where he really just put over how much of a sleazeball he is. And if they continue with this gimmick, I think Braxton Sutter will actually get over as a heel. So I'm actually very happy about this. We then get the X Division match. It's Trevor Lee, Petey Williams, Matt Sydal. This might be the most disappointing match on the night. Although, that being said, it's not exactly an insult because all these matches were just, either really good or pretty good, and this was just like solid. It was fine. And part of the issue is we're going to see this match at Redemption sans Trevor Lee. It's going to be Petey Williams versus Matt Sydal, if I remember correctly. So you can't do everything in this match. Good match though, solid wrestling. Everyone did their spots. Everyone did good work, and Petey's really putting over the PD Pump, not PD Pump, the Canadian Destroyer. He's talking about he's the one and only true Canadian Destroyer. He's gonna earn back that belt. It's been 10 years since he held it. It's been too long, and I love this redemption arc for Petey. I'm down. I want more of it. However, everyone else's character work outside of this match was so strong, I can't really give this match too much of a mark because Matt Sydal's gimmick is still kind of new. Petey Williams' gimmick is still undefined, and Trevor Lee hasn't really embraced what his gimmick can be yet. So, We then go on to what I think might be my favorite character match of the night. Not my favorite match. That's still to come. But Eli Drake comes out and he cuts one of the best promos of his career. Not a hard times promo, but he comes out and he runs down Canada, runs down Cody Deaner, puts over Eli Drake. The fans are into it. They're booing him. He's into it. He's cutting loose. He's drinking from his water bottle. It's fantastic. And then Cody Deaner comes out. Cody Deaner, much like A1, used to be a member of the Impact roster back in 2008, 2009 when it was TNA. And they did this bogus... kind of setup where they try to find ODB a date. And they're like, fan, you can come date ODB. And they ended up going with Cody Deaner, who was obviously a plant. he had been wrestling for Scott D'Amore for some time. And he came in basically just being ODB's, James Ellsworth at the time. He was modern-day James Ellsworth. He was 2008's James Ellsworth. And I think he wrestled for the Knockouts Championship a few times, maybe even won it. I don't remember. I don't want to look it up. I don't want to see his name next to that belt if it's true. But he reinvented himself a few years ago, and now he's kind of kicking it up full gear, and he's going by Cody Deaner, and I think he's the Redneck Rebel, and he's putting over the DDT again. And hand to God, someone's gonna throw a lead pipe at me, but I felt like I was watching the second coming of Jake Roberts, not so much in the character vein. But Cody Deaner played the crowd like a fiddle when he came out. He was super fucking over. He got over the DDT chants. And you really felt like it was an impactful move before you'd even seen it. And these two had a great little sparring session. And I was like, holy shit, is Cody Deaner over on me? And I think he is. They have a pretty decent match. Like, this was, the best way I can describe it is, you know when people talk about old school WrestleMania matches when they were good? Like Savage Steamboat, Steiner's Head Shrinkers, Hart Piper. This is what that felt like. It wasn't some big spot fest. They weren't doing, a lot of over-the-top moves. They did a pretty damn good, decent job telling a story within the confines of the ring without getting too crazy about it. And I'm like, this is what wrestling needs more of. More not gimmick matches, but matches that respect the gimmicks. And Eli Drake is starting to kind of fall more and more into like this pseudo workout kind of guy. He comes down wearing his workout sneakers. He's got his little workout t-shirt on. He's drinking the water bottle to keep his muscle mass up. And Deaner's just like this, this Johnny-come-lately, this everyman hero is what they put him over as. And it really felt like there was something there. I don't know if I could ever see Cody Deaner as a world champion, but right angle, right feud, who knows? I definitely dug this match. It was a lot of fun. This is probably my second favorite match on the card. We then go to a BCW Can-Am Tag Team title match. This is a unique premise because Brett Banks and Jake Something are tag team champions. But Brett Banks and Jake Something had a falling out, so Phil Atlas paired up with Jake Something, and Aiden Prince tagged up with Brett Banks. The winning tag team would be the official tag team champions. This is kind of what they did in WCW with Sting taking on the Outsiders with the Giant. Giant turned on, or Scott Hall turned on Kevin Nash, who were the champs at the time. Big Show, the Giant at the time, unites with Scott Hall. They join the NWO, and Sting's kind of just sitting there like, the fuck? Next month at Slamboree or Great American Bash, Sting and the Giant face off in the main event. Winners get the tag team titles, and Sting went over, and he and Nash became champions. Similar idea, but this time they actually did it in a tag team match. This was a good match. A real good match. Probably my third favorite on the card. Jake Something and Phil Atlas had great chemistry. Brent Banks is kind of one of those guys that I think in 2 to 5 years, if he gets the right gimmick, works on his promos, could really be a big name. Wasn't sold on Aiden Prince yet, but this is my first outing, and I don't know how fresh to the game he is. But this was a good match. Everyone did their jobs well. I think it was Jake Something had just the most disgusting pin I'd ever seen. Not in terms of like ew gross, but he low blows Brett Banks, and I think it was Brent Banks, and then he pins him. But as he pins him, he kind of lays back on him like he's kind of like laying on a couch. And he takes his forearm and he shoves it into his face. And he leans all the pressure he can on his face. And the ref just counts the pin. I was like, wow, that is a great heel pin. You don't even see wrestlers in the big leagues pinning people anymore like that. Because it's just such a, I don't know, it's not outdated. But it's kind of like a lost art. Like so many guys are just going for the big spots. Even heels in these big companies are trying to do, suicidos and 450 splashes. That to see a heel actually do something heelish was really refreshing. I was like, huh, cool. We then get Joe Doring versus Moose, and this is, I think, my favorite match on the card. Moose has really elevated his game. He's not winning often on these one-night-onlys. He's lost 2 straight to El Patron heading into this. The one in Vegas was was good, but I think the one before that was better, if I'm remembering correctly, or maybe flip that. Joe Doring, though, is fresh off of a stint in All Japan. He's their current heavyweight champion. He's the All Japan Triple Crown champion, which is their top guy. He's the Kazuchika Okada of All Japan. Doring just got back into town, and the cool thing about Joe Doring is he beat a brain tumor about last year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and this is essentially his return not just to wrestling, but to not just the world title scene, but to wrestling as well. Joe Doring is once again the All Japan Triple Crown champion, a title he's held before. And to say this dude is the new Stan Hansen is a fucking understatement. This dude looks like Stan Hansen's son. He's got that fit belly, where it looks like it's hard, but it's still not the six-pack abs. He's got a good physique, and it works for him, and he's got this unique cowboy look that just stands out. And the funny thing is back in the day, he used to have, like, bleach blonde, you know, frosted tipped hair that went straight up. He looked like a Heidenreich Jr. wannabe. So the transition has been remarkable, and Joe Doring was fantastic. Him and Moose smashed the shit out of each other. Not like a New Japan Shibata match. That's too much, but acceptable. Like, they were throwing, I would say, close fist punches at 60%. Like, enough to, like, okay, all right, my teeth are kind of rattled after that one. But not enough to be like, oh, he has a concussion. And I like that. And the whole kind of dynamic of this match was that these guys wouldn't fall when they were hitting each other. And that was cool. Doring, though, you know, he's the heel. He smashes Moose in the face with the Triple Crown Championship and eventually gets the win. The cool thing, though, is while Doring didn't cut a promo, at least one that aired, Moose did cut one. He's like, Joe, you and I came from this school. Like, we both trained here. We're both students of this. And now we're going to beat the shit out of each other. Now, he didn't swear, but that was the general emphasis. And each time I see Moose, each time I hear him cut a promo, I'm like, this man can be a world champion in this company. And I think at one point they even, you know, allude to, I don't think it was Moose, I think it was actually Joe Doring they said this about, but, you know, they brought up Monty Brown. And Monty Brown was one of the last guys that people were like, you know, he's a can't-miss prospect, but he didn't work on some of his craft, and he opted to leave to go to the WWE. And Moose is one of those guys, like, you can see has a lot of the same elements. He's popular. He's a ex-NFL player. Now, Monty Brown was a linebacker. Moose is an offensive lineman. I think offensive lineman. Yeah, offensive lineman. And they both kind of have similar, you know, finishing moves. He had the pounds, Brown, and Moose has that rolling spear thing. I think he still does that. Moose has kind of had a few finishers, actually, now that I think about it. I don't know which one is his go-to, but the dynamics are similar. You know, big, brawling ex-NFL players who move extremely well and have advanced very quickly in their careers. And Moose right now is like 5 years in, and I think he's at that point when you can try seeing what he's like on the main event. I wouldn't give him the belt yet, but I would start giving him main event matches, kind of like they would, you know, back in '97 when they were feeding Stone Cold some main event matches, just to see how it works. Then in the main event, we get Congo Kong and RJ City taking on Alberto El Patron and Austin Aries. This was a fine match. I wouldn't say it was a great match, but early in the night, RJ City cuts this great promo, just very subtle but like very snarky, and parlayed very well off of Jimmy Jacobs, and I liked it. RJ City, I think, it has the ability to be kind of like a little obnoxious little heel, maybe. You know, nothing too overt. You know, he's not the biggest dude. He's not the most defined dude. He's not the most athletic dude. But he's just annoying. Like, he's that annoying heel, and it works. I like it. Patron and Aries can't get on the same page. RJ City actually shows a great amount of talent against El Patron. I don't like El Patron, but he does bring the best out of people. And that cannot be denied. Patron was over with this Windsor crowd, and that should be noted. So was Aries, so was RJ City, so was Kong, so was Jacobs. At the end of the day, though, Patron kind of screws Aries out of the match. RJ City tags out to Congo Kong, and Congo Kong puts down Austin Aries for the match. And they put over the fact that Congo Kong had been the BCW heavyweight champion for almost 2 years at this point. So, you know, they really built Congo Kong as this unstoppable force within this match. And you know, this was a 2-hour and 48-minute pay-per-view, or whatever we're calling it these days, special event. And I felt like everyone was better off after the show than before, with the exception being the X Division guys. I would say that they're just about right where they were beforehand. They didn't lose ground, but they certainly didn't get more impressive. So overall, this was definitely a hell of a show. I would recommend anyone to watch this, whether you're an Impact fan or not, because it was that good. It's one of those times when, you know, just kind of look back and be like, maybe I will give this a shot. That's all I got. Just thought I'd, you know, give you guys a little update. Obviously, you know, on here on the YouTube channel, we do things a little bit differently. You know, there's no download option for these shows. You have to listen to them on the YouTubes. But we do have other shows going up throughout the week. You know, obviously, you guys just checked out, or, you know, is available to you, the about 30-minute bit that we did from this past week's WrestleCorp, where we talked about the dumbass who's trying to clear Fabulous Moolah's name and going about it all wrong. Not that you can, but I just thought the way he was going about it was foolish and stupid. If you download the show, you can hear us talk about Daniel Bryan and how I thought his first big promo after announcing his return was bad. We talk shit about the WrestleMania build-up, because that's been bad too. We talk about the cool swerve you can do with John Cena heading into WrestleMania. We supplant and put in different wrestlers in this idea. So if you want to find out who we think John Cena could face at WrestleMania and how to do it, that's available on that show as well. There's more. Just listen to the other video. It's to the right if you're looking. Obviously, you know, we have other shows as well throughout the week, like the WrestleCorp review for this week. It was, or is, because this is going to go up before that one does. Starrcade 2000. It's the end of our WCW 2000 era. You know, salute. Next week we're doing a good WrestleMania, so I don't know what we're going to be doing in that regard. I'm going to pitch WrestleMania 19 and see how Zach likes it, but we'll see what's going on with that. Otherwise, just follow us on Twitter at NERDCORP. The website's realnerdcorp.com. If you missed any podcasts throughout the week, you know, we talk about comics, sci-fi. I'm going to be talking about Santa Clarita Diet this week on ComicCorp, which airs Thursdays at 10 p.m. live on Mixlr.com/nerdcorp if you want to listen live. Or you can download the show via Podbeam at realnerdcorp.podbean.com. or via iTunes by searching NerdCorp. And yeah, you know, that's it. Follow us on Twitter for updates. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I'm Chad. This has been a unscripted review of Impact's March breakdown. So with that being said, thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next time. And remember, watch more wrestling.